the field sobriety test, as well as the breathalyzer test. This nonfiction novel also includes the actual court transcript from the jury trial, a courtroom showdown in which the final verdict would determine the fate of the defendant's livelihood. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Good morning. You are listening to On the Rise, AM 1410 WRMN. I am your host, Derek Geyer, flying solo for the moment. We should be getting Mike in the studio anytime, but, we fly by the seat of our pants here. Nothing really big going on other than Nightmare on Chicago Street. Here in downtown Elgin today. I believe the event starts at 5 p.m., goes until about 10 or 11 tonight. But, Nightmare on Chicago Street here in Elgin. If you are in the Halloween spirit, the Halloween mood, come on down, get dressed up, enjoy all the ghouls, the goblins, the witches, and all of that fun stuff. I mean, they've already got the streets closed off, blocked off. Parking's going to be limited, it looks like, over there by the post office. So that might be your best bet, but you probably need to come in a little bit early to actually secure a parking spot, unless you're going to feel like walking a little bit more than you normally would. Go on to the website for Nightmare on Chicago Street in Elgin. It should be one hell of an event. But what we've got going on today is we're going to be talking a little bit of pro sports. We're going to be talking a little bit of amateur sports. Chicago Steel, Rockford Ice Hogs, a little bit of Chicago Bulls. And a matter of fact, since we have someone that hasn't played basketball in about 2 years, over 2 years now, Lonzo Ball, we've got a little bit of sound for that, so we'll just kick that off right here.
Checking in for the Chicago Bulls, number 2, Lonzo Ball.
Arthroscopic debridement of his left knee in September of 22. And then in March of 23, the cartilage transplant. Here he is for 3. Good!
There you go.
Welcome back, Lonzo Ball.
He just plays with a nice pace. He's not rushing. He's going to get to the corner and get ready to shoot. Man. He's just a guy that knows how to play. Bunch of fans right here.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
What a cool moment. What a great moment. THT all the way.
Gonna get some butter with that roll, THT.
Lonzo Ball found him en route to the rim.
Bang, bang. I'll tell you, he still got a stroke.
Yep.
You go watch. He's spotted up right here. See, ready to shoot. This is what I saw a lot of guys on this team, is you got to be ready to shoot when that ball comes. There's no indecision.
Now it's Randall against Levine. Ball with the help and the block.
And that's why he was the Bulls shot blocking leader. He always is in position to help. Watch this right here. He's going to come down. He sees it, and he comes right behind it. He did not do the Olay defense, as I always like to say. Guys, show and then get out the way.
There's Lonzo diving, and he saves the ball behind his back as he woes into the Bulls bench. Hey, just the fact that he can do that and not be afraid, yes, that is such an incredible sign.
Watch this. This is what he means to his team. Help defense. And then right there, everybody on that bench should be with kid gloves and grabbing him. Dude, they were afraid. Grab him. Don't let him fall.
Hey, Kenneth Lofton getting in there. Good job, buddy.
Take one for the team, baby.
Williams to ball.
Nice cut. Nice pass. Nice cut. Well, here it is. and this is what we talk about with this team. If you're not involved on the backside, do something. Move, set a screen, watch. He sees his man's watching, his man goes, and he won the lob. That was a nice pass by P-Dub.
See him kind of moving right, left, and cutting. Just some stuff that you take for granted that he's doing well. And he goes up for the layup. Nice Levine feed and puts it in.
And the impact he makes on the team and the flow of the game when they're in there, I mean, you can still see it right now. I mean, even if he's been gone for 2 years, he still makes an impact on the game, and he's not even really trying to.
And that was Adam Amin and Stacey King on the call, courtesy of CHSN. So Lonzo Ball played 15 minutes. He scored 10 points. He was 2 for 4 from the three-point line. He had 1 rebound, 1 steal, 1 assist, 1 block shot. And as you heard in the highlight, he was diving into the stands. Well, not really diving into the stands, because when I think of a dive into the stands, you're going full parallel to the floor, going into the bench. That wasn't actually the case. He was more like, walking into the stand, maybe like a little short jog into the stand. And welcome in, Mike. How the hell are you doing?
Hi, Derek. How's it going?
Nice of you to show up today. Appreciate it.
Well, we're running on Italian time. My bad. We're here, though. This looks great. I didn't mean to make such an abrupt entrance, but, here we are. And then, of course, no parking on this street because later tonight, and we're going to get into it later.
Yeah, we already got there.
Oh.
I already prefaced Nightmare on Chicago Street.
Nightmare on Chicago Street, yes. So it should be a great time. I know we're talking Bulls right now, of course, because Windy City Bulls have not started yet. So It's all kind of the same thing. Just how Derek and I covered the Blackhawks being the Rockford Ice Hogs for that whole training camp and preseason. It's going to be the same here with the Bulls. And yes, as you mentioned, the great news of Lonzo Ball being back after 2.5 years. And we're ready to start that that regular season now.
Yeah, that's coming up on Wednesday. It was just great because, as you said, 2.5 years being out of action, all the multitudes of surgeries and everything that he had, repairing the ligaments, the joint, the cartilage. I mean, taking cadaver cartilage and inserting it into his own knee. This is never been done, or actually it's been done before, but never to this extent where you actually have like a world-class athlete like Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
And, hopefully it takes. It's going to be a learning process. From judging by the way that Ball came back and he was playing with the Bulls, he definitely added a shot. You got to kind of take it with a grain of salt, considering that this is just a first preseason game. But it's Lonzo Ball's first game action in over 2.5 years. So that is remarkable in itself. I'm sure there's a ton of doctors that were absolutely on pins and needles trying to see or hoping that this surgery would take, because this would probably be like the next evolution of this type of procedure.
Yeah. Did you run down the preseason results already?
No, I did not.
So, of course, the Bulls won their first preseason game back on Tuesday, October 8th, 116-112. Then they proceeded to lose to both Memphis and Milwaukee. That Memphis game was Saturday after Derek and I recorded. It was the first home game of the preseason. It was a 124-121 final. Then they went back on the road against Milwaukee, so just up north, 111-107. They fell in that one. But then they won the remaining 2 games at home. That was Wednesday and Friday against the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, that Minnesota Timberwolves game, the game that Derek and I are talking about, that Lonzo Ball made his return, a 125-123 victory. And then last night, a 139-137 victory in overtime. So, it's preseason, and we've said that, with the Blackhawks and Bears as well. But, this is a good sign.
No, the Bears are actually playing meaningful games.
Right. Well, for a while there, it was a little questionable, and they had gone undefeated in the preseason. I think a lot of fans were wondering if they were going to see the same thing during the regular season. And it was a little shaky at first. Same with this Blackhawks team. It was actually the reverse. It was shaky in the preseason, and it's looked a little bit better during the regular season. So it's not really a good tell if a team is going to be good or not in the preseason. But I think the best thing coming out of this is the fact that Lonzo Ball is back. And the Bulls, despite, a couple of trades during the offseason, a couple of years in a row going basically 500 and not really having a shot in those play-in rounds and in the playoffs, not getting in, this is an uplifting moment for this Bulls squad that I think they can take into the regular season and, who knows, do some damage. They were a great team when Lonzo Ball was with them 2.5 years ago, and I'm sure they can probably get back to those heights with this new cast of characters around him as well.
Well, quite honestly, I think I'm going to reserve opinion for a later time because I don't really think that the Bulls are going to really do anything much this year. I mean, I think they were projected to win somewhere in between 23 to 27 games, somewhere around there, depending on like what betting sites, you're looking at. And quite honestly, I think the trades that they did during the offseason were only in support or trying to support the tank for the number 1 draft pick so they can get into the lottery, get out of the play-in game, get, not really, do much of anything. I mean, they want to appear like they're trying because they want to appease their fans. They want to still bring in like the number 1 in attendance last year for the Bulls. I think at least top 5, for fan attendance, during all the home games and everything. But
I don't think those numbers will ever dwindle because I think
not.
Of, all of that is residuals still from the 90s and from the Jordan era and what that Bulls logo means worldwide now. But another team that wants to make it look to the fans like they're competing and trying, and yet they're not. I don't know. It sounds really familiar here in Chicago. And I think it's similar ownership, at least for now.
Oh, okay. I kind of thought that's where you were going, but go ahead. Please continue.
At least for now, there is a chance that Jerry Reinsdorf is going to be selling the Chicago White Sox. He is open to making some kind of a deal, which previously it was only upon his demise that he instructed his heirs to sell the White Sox and keep the Bulls. Now, Michael Reinsdorf is the COO of the Bulls right now, so a lot of the moves and management that you're seeing with this Bulls team has to do with Michael Reinsdorf now. Jerry's a little bit more hands-off. So that's kind of already happened, but Jerry is still kicking, and it sounds like he is looking to sell the 41 and 121 Chicago White Sox.
If there was ever a time that the ownership, Jerry would consider selling the team, it should probably be now. Rumors had it that Dave Stewart, former Oakland A's pitcher, and friend of Tony La Russa, I think friend of Tony La Russa, close ties with Jerry and all that fun stuff. So he is one of the ownership groups that may or may not have the inside track on the Chicago White Sox, but there is also rumor for that, if that goes through, that they might be considering moving the franchise to Nashville. And Nashville has long since wanted a Major League Baseball franchise.
I have a friend that is a part of the architectural and engineering team that was contracted to do the Arlington Heights. Is it for the Bears or what? They're still kind of working that out. But the Arlington Heights property, he said that his company has a list. He actually showed me this list. And I have to keep this all top secret, but he showed me this list.
Yeah, bring it to a radio station. Keep it top secret.
Right. Well, we're gonna be extremely vague, but I'm gonna get to the point that I need to make here is that there's a list of stadiums around the country that this company has been signed on to do, and one of those stadiums is Nashville.
Okay.
Now, in order to construct a stadium like that and have that kind of information, you need to know what the team is going to be. Of course, if you're building a stadium, maybe you want to put into the concrete the team's logo. You want to put things about the city and
sure.
and who's going to be playing there. the Nashville one is listed as an MLB expansion team. And it seemed as though they already had their information as what they wanted to name the team. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, if something changes. I mean, look at the Bears property in Arlington Heights is not set, so I take it all with a grain of salt. But if they were to make an expansion team, then there's no room for the White Sox in Nashville. If there's a sell from Jerry Reinsdorf and Dave Stewart buys this team, then maybe they rethink that, and maybe it is still a relocation, and the White Sox move to Nashville and change the name to be whatever name they were going to name that expansion team or something similar along those lines. But
that could be. But
I'm still hoping
I also
for the
think it's
expansion
kind
side.
of, well, whether it be an expansion team, if they do make the sale, they do go through the process of relocating the team. It really, whether it be an expansion team or a relocation, I think. Well, you said that Nashville is zoned for a new stadium.
Yeah.
So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert by any means of, MLB relocation, selling the team, whatnot. But I mean, if there was ever a time to sell a team, it would probably be now. After you mentioned the biblical losses,
Yeah.
not the Cubs, but the White Sox for the regular season. Right now, because right now their payroll is essentially nothing.
And I could hear the teeth chattering and the White Sox fans around Chicagoland biting their nails at the fact that you mentioned Dave Stewart is, we believe, a friend of Tony La Russa. And of course, White Sox fans, recent memories know how that went. However, it can't get worse than this, right? I mean, even.
Oh, I don't know.
I
don't know.
I'm not saying he would bring in Tony La Russa. I think everyone and their extended family has seen how that experiment went in these days. But I mean, I can't imagine that it can get worse than 121 losses. Shout out T-Lo. It can't get worse than this. This is rock bottom for the White Sox. It's going to get better from here, I think.
I was going to say, a friend of the show, said that last season, before this season, couldn't get worse than this. And here we are with the 121 losses. And, I don't.
I disagreed with T-Lo then. I agree with him now. So let's pray it is not 122.
Well, that would be a hell of a thing, that's for sure. But how was your week, Mike?
It's been great. Before we completely switch gears, I do want to recap the Bulls. The Windy City Bulls don't start until November. We've mentioned that on this show before, so we'll bring that to you then. However, in these last few weeks of October, regular Bulls basketball will begin now that the preseason is over. This coming Wednesday, October 23rd, is a 7 p.m. start in New Orleans against the Pelicans. And then Friday night is just north of here in Milwaukee. That's a 7 p.m. start against the Bucks. Saturday, October 26th, so 1 week from today, is the home opener for the Chicago Bulls against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Go figure. That is also at 7 p.m. I believe you can watch all three of these games on Chicago Sports Network, although that would mean you have to have an OTA antenna or DirecTV. Yes, we're going backwards here, folks. Yeah, they're still working out all of the kinks with this new TV, but I was on TV this week that nobody could see.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up until we started actually covering the Blackhawks.
We'll get into hockey.
But, how was it being on TV, Mr. TV man?
It was great until I got completely roasted on WGN Morning News. So the actual broadcast, they had me on TV, but then on the morning news side of things, I was completely roasted by Pat Tomasulo, and he said, "I hope this isn't a first date." I was sitting next to my best friend's little cousin. Definitely was not a date. So,
well, thank you for clearing that up, Tom. I mean, Mike.
Yeah.
Mr. Tomasulo, how could you?
He's a stand-up comedian in his part-time, so I see where it comes from.
Yeah, he thought he was kind of funny with that, and actually, after watching it guiltily, well, not really guiltily, and kind of like laughing, I mean, can you do that whole head bob thing for the YouTube live
We're done.
audience?
We're done. You know how much?
I mean, that was. You look like you were really into whatever was going on.
I
mean,
was.
You're just.
It's
bopping
hard,
your head back and forth.
It's hard to dance when you're in your seat
your
like
little,
that.
Or your friend's little cousin is like sitting next to you, just like staring off into space.
She had her mouth open. It was worse for her. She was just like, it was a blank stare. So I took the brunt of it in the group chat when everybody was laughing at me. But I don't think she really wanted those videos out there. I danced more last night when I guest acted at Disturbia Haunted House, because that is a riot. And out on the line, I was front of the house, which I was so grateful for. My buddy Nick Serralo had me out there, and wow, what a time. My legs are tired today, and it's not from sliding. We have that like slide gear. You got the knee pads and everything. Yeah. It was more from the dancing, because I was shaking my booty, and I am not good at shaking my booty unless I'm in character, I found out. So I was going crazy.
Unless you're in character, you might have had like one too many martinis.
No. So completely on the job for that one. But also, it was easier to dance there than it was in my seat at a Blackhawks game, when I was just kind of, doing a little head fakes and stuff. And, the game was already pretty much wrapped up at that point. Connor Bedard, we'll get into it, had a night, and so did Teuvo Teravainen. So it was a good time. But before we have a couple more minutes here, I know we wanted to get into a little bit of MLB playoffs like we did last week, kind of just catch you up. But we just also want to preview that we have hockey coming your way. We have the Chicago Blackhawks, and now, separate from them, the Rockford Ice Hogs. The Chicago Wolves started as well, same league, so that is a given. And then also the Chicago Steel, as we've been bringing you each and every week. Derek already mentioned that Nightmare on Chicago Street is happening tonight in Elgin. So Fox River Valley, get up and out of your seats, get on over here, maybe get a costume. I'm in that boat too, so don't worry. Oh, you got another one, huh? I do have two. I was doing the scavenger hunt for a while. I do know the answer to this one, but I just didn't have time to get over there. There's 6 of them. I have 2, so I need to do my homework. I don't even know if it's doable to do my homework today. At this point, I don't think I'd be getting a free ticket with these, but WRMN is nice enough to be bringing us on. We're going to be covering Nightmare on Chicago Street, so I don't believe I really need too much of a ticket.
Are you going to be dressing up for this?
Well, I did say I'm in that boat where I don't know if I have a costume. I don't want to wear the same thing I wore to Nightmare on Chicago Street last year and just be kind of lame like that. So.
And what about the costumes that you wore for your particular haunts?
I don't know if it'd be a little too scary for a streetwide party. I don't want to be freaking people out. It's a little goofy. I could bring my professional haunt acting, because tune in WRMN around 9 p.m. towards the last hour of the event itself. We will be talking to the Haunted House Chicago review team. They're good friends of mine. They go around, they see about 50 haunted houses in a span of 45 days, plus home haunts, plus events like Nightmare on Chicago Street. So they are everywhere during this time. So if you want to hear from some experts, it is them for sure.
And we will continue with probably hockey. Well, we've got a lot of hockey to cover. And I am Derek Geyer. That is Mike Napolitano. You are listening to AM 1410 WRMN on the Rise, and we'll be back.
My fellow Kane Countyans, I am Anthony Catella, the Republican candidate for Circuit Clerk. This election is important for Kane County as well as our country. Independent, libertarian, and all voters can make a big difference by voting for the right candidate regardless of party. I am a good, decent, honest, patriotic American, called to public service. I ask you to vote for me as your next Circuit Clerk of Courts for Kane County, Illinois. Thank you, God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Visit the Milwaukee County Zoo this summer to enjoy so many species of fun. Home to more than 2,200 animals, representing over 340 different species. The zoo educates, entertains, and inspires. Stomp back in time with the zoo's summer exhibit, Dinosaur Discovery, sponsored by Sendik's Food Market. You'll be astounded by the gigantic and scientifically accurate animatronic displays. Touch, feel, and learn about the role of predators in the ecosystem. Running through October 5th. Visit MilwaukeeZoo.org.
By love of food and wellness, Mockingbird Bar and Garden of East Dundee encourages you to eat seasonal and clean while still indulging a bit. Whether food is served fresh or wood-fired, nothing is overcomplicated. Mockingbird Bar and Garden promises to give your palate something delicious and new and aspires to be a hive of buzz and activity. Start your weekend with an espresso or complement dinner with wine, specialty cocktails, or craft beer. Visit mockingbirdbarandgarden.com today.
Big opportunities don't wait for the winter meeting season. Stay in the know now with Compeer Financial's Agri-Mindset webinars, where industry experts bring you the latest in ag, and you don't have to leave the farm to listen in. Join us August 21st at 1 o'clock for an in-depth hour on navigating technology investments to benefit your farm in today's market. Sign up for Compeer's next Agri-Mindset webinar at compeer.com/register. Compeer Financial is an equal credit opportunity lender and provider. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved.
What makes a great pizza restaurant? The obvious answer, great pizza. A local favorite since 1983, Pizza Pub Wisconsin Dells has been serving up the best pizza in the Dells. Year after year after year. Not hungry for pizza? Try the homemade lasagna, chicken parmesan, burgers, salads, and an extensive kids menu. Or take a trip or two to the all-you-care-to-eat lunch buffet. Pizza Pub, walking distance to water parks and hotels in Wisconsin Dells. Visit the Milwaukee County Zoo this summer to enjoy so many species of fun. Home to more than 2,200 animals, representing over 340 different species. The zoo educates, entertains, and inspires. Stomp back in time with the zoo's summer exhibit, Dinosaur Discovery, sponsored by Sendik's Food Market. You'll be astounded by the gigantic and scientifically accurate animatronic displays. Touch, feel, and learn about the role of predators in the ecosystem. Running through October 5th. Visit MilwaukeeZoo.org.
Ultimate Combat Gauntlet, live professional wrestling. Newest, freshest, most exciting, action-packed, fun-to-watch wrestling event on the southwest side of the Chicagoland area. The Magoo's Bar on 6550 South on Menard Avenue in Bedford Park. Next show, Friday, 20 September. Doors open at 6 p.m. Show starts at 7 p.m. $20 for adults, $10 for children accompanied by adults. Discount for military veterans and first responders.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the better business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Welcome back to On the Rise on WRMN AM 1410. I am Mike Napolitano here with my co-host Derek Geyer. We've got plenty of hockey slated for you today. We're going to be starting things out with the Chicago Wolves, and of course we'll get into the Chicago Steel. I almost called them the Windy City Steel, but the Chicago Steel and the Wolves. The Wolves started their season last Saturday, same as the Rockford Ice Hogs. And, it didn't go the way that they planned. That was a home game at the Allstate Arena, but it was a 4-1 loss to the Milwaukee Admirals. Ryan Suzuki scored the lone goal for the for the Wolves, Chicago. His brother is Nick Suzuki, if you recognize the name. He is the captain of the Montreal Canadiens. I threw in here to talk about Lane Hudson in my notes because I don't know if any of you have heard of this kid yet, but Lane Hudson is a rookie playing for the Montreal Canadiens, Chicago homegrown. I actually know people who skate with him, and they've told me he is going to be the next Cale Makar. He is that good on defense.
I have absolutely no idea who Cale Makar is.
Oh, no, you don't know who Cale Makar is. A generational talent on defense. He's been compared to Bobby Orr. He set a couple records that haven't been set since Bobby Orr's time. And he was, I don't believe he was playoff MVP, Conn Smythe winner, when the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
But he was a huge part in that championship. They talk about in the National Hockey League, in order to win a cup, on the surface, of course, you need to have much more than this, but on the surface, you need to have your big three. You need to have two solid forwards that carry your team, and then you need to have a defenseman that carries your team, that backstops, that quarterbacks your team. And for the Blackhawks here in Chicago, we knew for those championship runs, it was Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, and then you had Duncan Keith in the back. And if Keith wasn't performing, it was Seabrook. Other guys would step up. Of course, you need goaltending as well. That's a given. But the Colorado Avalanche had Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog.
Yeah.
And then they had Cale Makar. He was their defenseman. And now he's not the biggest guy either. They usually say you have to have this big defenseman. Well, here in Chicago, we saw Duncan Keith was our number one, and he wasn't the biggest of guys.
No.
But, you know, when you talk about even more recent successful teams, it was the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they have Victor Hedman, who is this monstrosity back there on the blue line.
Yeah.
But Cale Makar is just as good, and a very different player. A lot more scoring, a lot more dynamic, not as heavy hitting because he's a smaller guy, and Lane Hudson looks to be the same way. So I'm interested to see his growth. And then, of course, the coach of the Montreal Canadiens right now is Martin St. Louis, and he's an undersized guy. So if there's somebody to learn from about having success as an undersized guy in the NHL, it's Martin St. Louis. So Lane Hudson is in the right spot. I got to meet Martin St. Louis at the 2023 NHL draft in Nashville when I was there seeing Connor Bedard get selected first overall by the Blackhawks. And, really nice guy. Signed a puck for me, took a picture.
I'm kind of curious, how much bigger or smaller was he than you?
I was taller than Martin St. Louis, which I kind of expected going in. I guess if you had told me I was going to meet Martin St. Louis, and you asked me if I was going to be the taller one in the picture, I guess I would have put my money on that I was. But, you know, it's not really something you think about until you're standing there taking the picture with the guy. And but you could tell why he was an NHL superstar. I mean, the way he carries himself. But regardless, let's get back into the actual Wolves. So Ryan Suzuki, younger brother of Nick Suzuki, scores the lone goal in that one. Spencer Martin had 17 saves. Hurricanes fans may know him well. He came up in lieu of all those goaltending injuries that they've struggled with over the years, but Martin has now been mostly down in his career with the Wolves in the AHL. He is credited with the loss, of course. The Wolves did outshoot the Admirals 32-21, but couldn't do much more damage than that Suzuki tally. Suzuki did go on to say, quote, "We just didn't capitalize on our chances, but as long as you're getting the chances, they're eventually going to go in. You start to worry when you stop getting the chances, not when they're not going in." So that is Ryan Suzuki letting you know that he's not super worried. This is just game one, and hopefully the Wolves can pick this back up, but not the way they really wanted to start their season. It's only going to get tougher from here, Derek.
Sorry, I'm not even going to pretend that I was listening.
Well, it's going to get tougher from here because tonight at 6 p.m., the Wolves are on the road in Hershey, Pennsylvania, to take on the Hershey Bears. Hershey Bars, Hershey Bears, ha ha ha. That is the Washington Capitals farm team, also the defending Calder Cup champions. So the AHL champions of last year this year, 2024, but of the 2023-24 season. Tomorrow will be a matinee start at 2 p.m., also in Hershey. So the Wolves play 2 in Hershey, and then they still don't get to come home. They have to go up to Milwaukee and face this team that they already saw in their opening night. That is Friday, October 25th at 7 p.m. And then when they finally get to come home, the Wolves, that will be next Saturday after Derek and I record another episode of On the Rise. So tune in next week. That is a 7 p.m. home start against the Milwaukee Admirals. The Wolves will have played 5 games of this AHL season and have only gotten to see 2 teams. 2 very tough teams, I will say, too. That's a tough opening schedule.
Yeah, it is. And I thought I was saying things. I thought I was maybe like a little bit drunk residually or whatever when I was looking at the schedule. I mean, considering the fact that, yeah, you got Hershey, you got the Admirals. I mean, and they've always played the Wolves tough.
Yeah, I mean,
without a doubt, they've always played them tough. It doesn't matter how the teams are stacked up. It's always a competitive game going back and forth. Just the way that it is.
Yeah, I mean, being in the same division, they used to call it the Amtrak rivalry because you could take the Amtrak from Chicago to Milwaukee, and that just kind of added fuel to the fire, and that has stayed. And not to mention, the Wolves are the affiliate team for the Carolina Hurricanes. The Milwaukee Admirals are the affiliate team for the Nashville Predators. Now, those 2 teams have either shared the Wolves at times during COVID when the Milwaukee Admirals were not able to play a season due to Wisconsin regulations during those times. And also, you take into consideration that during COVID, when the divisions were restructured, and even kind of, well, no, it wouldn't be now because the Nashville Predators are in the West and the Central Division, and the Carolina Hurricanes are in the East. But those 2 teams met in the playoffs. So they have a little bit of a rivalry going, even though they're not in the same conference.
Yeah, if you ever wonder why players dislike one another, this is pretty much the reason why. Because you are facing each other at the lower levels. You're familiar with them. You get used to the things that they do, dirty, play, or I'm sorry, I should have dirty, whether or not the players are dirty, whether or not, they hustle, they hit, they skate, obviously, but you are very familiar with them as they go up. And it's the same thing with I would say 2 of the other 3 sports, because you don't really get that in football, maybe college level when you go up into the NFL. But, baseball, you do. You're familiar with them because of the minors. Hockey, obviously, because that's what we're talking about right now. Basketball, probably with the G League.
A little bit.
A little bit because, players got to develop.
Or even college basketball for sure, because you got March Madness.
March Madness, but, right now it's pretty much if you're going to be a superstar or even a star for the NBA, it's pretty much like one and done. It's not like 10, 20 years or so ago where players are actually staying at the colleges for 4 years. And obviously they didn't have the NIL money back then. So, but,
well, and then it gives the I always forget what the word is here, but so many people call the AHL, nickname it, I guess we'll just go with nickname, the Always Hungry League. Stands for American Hockey League, but it's Always Hungry League, and it's because these players are always hungry, of course, to get to the next level. But to do that, you're playing on a smaller ice surface. You're playing the game at maybe just about as fast as the speed as NHL, maybe a tick down, but you have less room out there. So, bodies are going to be clanging against those boards even more at this level. Guys are going to be hungry, fighting for those spots, and you're going to see a little bit grittier of hockey when you go and see an AHL game. And you should, because that home Wolves game, that October 26th game, is also their Howl-O-Ween night. Howl, like wolf, ha ha ha. Derek's still putting in his bid to be the next Skates mascot for the Chicago Wolves. That will be a night including in-arena trick-or-treating. Gives you candy like Ferrera Pan, Wonka, so nerds, Trolley, Gummy Bears, Gummy Worms.
Sour Patch?
I don't see Sour Patch, but I would imagine there's some sour candies, especially because you have Sweet Tarts listed on here too.
Mm-hmm.
But get your tickets. I believe you can go in costume.
Yeah, do they have an adult trick-or-treating where you could go from adult beverage to adult beverage? And
I don't believe so, but I know that there are certain games in which the Wolves will be doing discounted alcohol nights, discounted like beer nights or something like that. So maybe you'll just have to trick-or-treat on one of those.
Oh, okay, I'd get dressed up.
So
maybe not for the candy, maybe for the adult beverage.
It was a short week for this Wolves team, and of course, last Saturday was when it started. It was a busy last Saturday. You had all 4 hockey teams that we cover here on the Rise in action. You had the Chicago Blackhawks up in Edmonton. You had the Rockford Ice Hogs at home against the Grand Rapids Griffins. You had the Wolves, who I said faced the Milwaukee Admirals. And then last but not least, you had the Chicago Steel in Omaha. Unfortunately, the Chicago Wolves were not the only man left hung out to dry in the loss column that Saturday night, because the Steel fell as well, and that was a shutout. That's tough. It was a 2-0 shutout to the Omaha Lancers.
Yeah, and we do have a little bit of sound for that, so why don't we go to that October 12th game?
From Omaha, Chicago Steel Hockey is on the airwaves. He's got a look here for Slimes. Deputy looks, shoots, change direction off the backboards. One-timer score. Jamison Slimes out front as a chicken bowling pin is thrown on the ice. On a chipper one-time score, the Lancers strike. $1:54 to go in period 1. Well, this is a classic example. You have a group here fresh from an icing call, and they're trying to wear down the Lancers. They can't do it. A high pass heads up going the other way. That not only gets a fresh group of troops in Steel territory, but those skaters are now tired. So it's kind of a role reversal, if you will, and a 1-0 Lancers lead. $1:54 to play here in the first. Long story short, Parsons, a couple of huge stops, killing a penalty in the second, has kept this a 1-0 score. We'll wrap up our second intermission right after this. Doug Mutrin, far corner. Mutrin behind the net. There goes Parsons. And Schultz still out behind the net, and now it's Mutrin getting a stick up. And this is flared to the empty net. It's off of Tylik and negates it. He's toward his own bench now. Tylik, extra effort, keeps it alive. Pinballs behind the net. Sisson snaps Schultz. Under a minute to go, 1-0 Lancers. Reiniger to his left, Sisson. And Reiniger couldn't take it cleanly. He held it in, barely by the skin of my teeth. Dyer, again, still set up on the exteriors. Reiniger couldn't take it cleanly, and a breakaway for Ramos. He should ice it, and he will. Lancers, 2-0 lead. 28.9 to play.
So not really a whole hell of a lot of offense for the Steel in that game, as they did get shut out. On that goal that was scored in the first period, Jack Parsons in net for the Steel. It was a hell of a wicked feed going across the goal mouth. Player one-timed it. Parsons had absolutely no chance. There was no net front presence for the Steel in that game. And one disturbing factoid. Oh, and I'm sorry. That was Mark Cintron on the call, and that was courtesy of Flow Hockey. But in one of the intermissions, Mark had pointed out that when this game was being played or underway, the Steel were only 2 for 27 on the power play. That is a very low number for the power play.
And the Steel had gotten a couple wins here. I mean, we talked about the early start to their season. I mean, it looked like again, going back to preseason versus regular season, it looked really shaky for this team in the preseason. They only got one win. They were blown out a couple of times. But then when they started the season, they were doing all right at first. And now, it is...
Well,
it is tough.
It's a little tough because then they played back-to-back games in Omaha, and they also played on the 13th. So why don't we cue up that as well?
Ashton Schultz will dig in for the face-off with Owen Tylick to his right. And it's 1-2. Tylick threw it off a Lancer's stick. Chiseled back to Tylick at the left point. He'll go down low. One-timer score. Ashton Schultz on the one-timer. Henriksen had no chance of that one. And a bang-bang play. Croskery with the primary assist in the steal. 1-0 Chicago. Kahn can't take this cleanly at the left point. He's got to backtrack. Kahn getting hassled from the puck. Sikora stop another rebound. He scores. Nick Sikora pickpockets Reed Kahn, and he follows up on the rebound, and it's a tie game. 18 seconds in the period. And this one squirts free. It's going to be Baker looking for Ramos. Sandor. Oh my goodness. Sikora was offside by a mile, and he scores. Wow.
Now he was offside.
Play was offside, but the play continues, and Sikora.
Now, and that is still the voice of Mark Citron on the call, courtesy of Flow Hockey there. And Sikora, Nick Sikora, son of Peter Sikora, former NHL player and two-time Stanley Cup winner with the Devils and the Penguins. It wasn't as egregious as an offsides call as Mark was making it sound. Because coming up, we'll probably say it's like, he was offsides by 10 feet.
Yeah, it did sound like that, but
no, it
was close.
And it was very close. And taking a look at it, I mean, I looked at it like 5 or 6 times. The camera angle, you really couldn't tell, but there's no way that Sikora was actually offsides by like 10 feet or whatever. So if you go ahead and continue on.
Sikora is able to rinse it by. Second of the game, 2-1 Lancers. Well, you can't challenge it, and it doesn't matter in the game. You're going to get calls for you. You're going to get calls against you. Sikora was 10 feet ahead of the play. 2-1 Lancers. Wow, backbreaker for the steal there. Well, it's the Lancers winning the draw. Sikora looking for the hat trick. His father, Peter, two-time Stanley Cup winner. Here he is to the net. He scores, and it's right there, the hat trick for Sikora. He was just left untouched. Natural hat trick, 3-1 Lancers. As Mikhail Catton, former Lumberjack and LaPointe, go at it here. Catton starts throwing him down, and now LaPointe responds. 3 rights, and Catton takes down LaPointe. Well, again, those were some early punches, but LaPointe taking it like a champ right there, and he's trying to get something going to this Steel team that's got nothing right now going.
Yeah, and after the hat trick, after Sikora scores the natural hat trick, 3 goals in a row, I mean, there was something that someone from the Steel had to do because they were kind of looking lackluster.
Yeah.
And LaPointe going against, it already, I don't have the note on who LaPointe fought, but wasn't really much of a fight. I mean, you'll hear the tail of the tape with it. LaPointe being a much shorter, probably giving up 20 pounds, and it really wasn't much of a fight, but something needed to be done. Something needed to be injected into this game because, I mean, it was oof.
LaPointe fought Mikhail Catton.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, I'm not familiar with that name. I don't believe he's related to any former NHLers. There's a good point on that Sikora, nod. Of course, different from the Sikuras that played here in Chicago and in Rockford. That's S-I-K. I don't actually remember how to spell it.
I don't know.
S-I-K-U-R-A. This is S-Y-K-O-R-A.
Yeah, I was never very good at spelling in school. But go ahead and continue.
Please. So you really got to take the no pun intended, the Cats, as LaPointe not going to feel pretty after that one. And Mikhail Catton, not known for his offensive upside, but here's the tail of the tape, 6'6", 206 pounds. Listen, you think LaPointe wants to do it 6 feet, 197. He's trying to get this Steel team back to its heels, down 3-1 here with 15:42 in the third. As Catton and the fans love it. Shots 24-2 since period 1. Lancers in control. Rister saved by Cloutier. Sikora with the natural hat trick. Deputies in tight. He hits Cloutier in a shot. Once again, slides. One timer. No, puck is in the back of the net. Cloutier almost on the 1T, and Sikora has number 4.
He definitely exploded.
4 goals in a game.
Yeah, 4 goals in a game. And so Jack Parsons started the first game on October 12th, which was that Saturday. And then Luca Coutier started the October 13th game. And he faced 46 shots.
Yeah.
He stopped 41 of them. It wasn't really indicative on Cloutier's play.
If you're letting up 46 shots on your goaltender in a game, I mean, I would expect him to have those kind of numbers. I mean, 5 are probably going to go in the back of the net. That seems reasonable. I mean, you got to cut those shot totals down because that is just leaving your goaltender hung out to dry.
Yeah, and the Steel really didn't get any net front presence. And when we say net front presence, what do we mean, Mike?
Get bodies to the paint. Get them in front of the goaltender's eye line, eyesight. You got to make sure that you take away his eyes and just throw everything at the net. You got to be willing to eat a puck if it's coming at you, and you put in the rebound. Get some garbage goals. Get a little bit physical. You're going to take some cross checks when you get to the front of the net. That was the type of player I was. I when I was out there, even though I'm not the biggest guy, I'm that pesty guy. I get in front of the net if I can.
Oh, you're the Adam Burrish kind of guy?
Yeah, I'm willing to eat a puck, and then if it finds its way into the blue paint, I'm there to just whack away at it and get a rebound. Yeah. So that's what the Steel team needs a little bit more of.
Yeah, and the goalie for the Lumberjacks for Game 1 and Game 2 of this series was both Cabrian Hendricks. And Hendricks got the shutout in Game 1, and he stopped 21 of 22 shots in that second game.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? He gets the shutout, might as well go back to him in that second game. I'm not sure if the Lancers have a second reliable goaltender. I'm sure they switch off a little bit just like the Steel do.
What did I say, Lumberjacks?
Lancers.
Lancers, okay, my bad.
Yeah, but I didn't even hear you. But no, yeah.
We pay attention to one another really well on this show.
They were fine at home, and they get both wins, unfortunately, for the Steel.
Yeah, and then to cap it off, Grant Dillard would add a 5th goal for the Lancers, so that would be a 5-1 game-ending score. But we will continue hockey talk at the top of the hour. You are listening to On the Rise on AM 1410 WRMN. I'm your host, Derek Geyer, alongside Mike Napolitano. And we will be back. Stick around with us because we will also be having the Fantasy Sports Half Hour at 9:30.
The weather is getting better, and we know it's the time when ladders and DIYers come out. Before you start any new outdoor projects, ComEd wants you to know that electricity can jump from a power line to you and the tools you're using. So maintain a safe distance from any power lines. You can also call ComEd at 1-800-EDISON-1 to have those power lines de-energized the next time you do any type of work around them. Stay smart, stay safe, stay back. ComEd, powering lives.
For local information and fun times in the mornings, listen to Marky B and Larry Jones on the First Shift.
And when like Christmas time and Thanksgiving time, Brian has these little competitions. People ring up and they gobble like a turkey, and whoever gets the most votes for the best gobble off, they win a turkey for Thanksgiving.
Really? That's a great idea. That's a great radio contest. Derek has given us some great ideas here.
That's
Larry.
right.
Yeah.
It's the First Shift, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. right here on WRMN.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 9 o'clock.
welcome back to On the Rise. You are listening to AM 1410 WRMN. I'm your host, Derek Geyer, alongside Mike Napolitano. So, Mike, the Steel are having kind of a rough little patch, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, and it gets worse after last weekend in Omaha, where they gave up 7 goals, only scored 1. Last night, up in Madison, Wisconsin, to take on the Capitals. That was I can't even say it, a 10-2 loss. Ouch. I've seen blowouts in hockey, but double digits.
10-2, so that makes it 5-1.
3 goals in the first, 3 goals in the second, and 4 in the third for this Madison squad. The Steel only see goals in the second and third periods, 1 each. We talked about 45 shots on goal before. 45 shots on goal for this this Madison team, and the Steel fall in this one. And unfortunately for them, it's not going to get easier right away, as they have one more game against the Capitals tonight. It is at home, so this is the October 19th Saturday game.
Maybe a little home cooking will do them good.
Let's hope, because they need it. Of course, the October 20th game tomorrow will be the Women in Sports celebration game. That is a special appearance from Olympic gold medalist and WHL champion, as well as former Blackhawks front office and coaching staff Kendall Coyne Schofield. That's a 4:05 p.m. start against the Des Moines Buccaneers. Maybe like you said, home cooking. These next 2 games at home can right the ship for this Steel team. But man, is it tough. Then they will have another game in Muskegon, Michigan, against the Muskegon Lumberjacks, 6:10 p.m. next Friday. And then we will be back on the air before the Saturday 5:10 start against that same Lumberjacks team up in Michigan. So a lot of Steel hockey coming to you on the way, but we have to talk about a little bit more AHL hockey. That is the Rockford IceHogs, who began their season the same night the Wolves did, with an October 12th home opener against the Grand Rapids Griffins.
IceHogs.
To the high slot, can't connect. Puck along the near wall, flipped up into the body of Doc. Spinner out front, he scores! Colton Doc got the first one for the IceHogs. And it's 1-0 Rockford through 3-0 in the first. Korchinski back out there to quarterback this top unit of the power play. Hoping to double the Rockford lead. Korchinski swaggers his way in. Korchinski forehand shot, rebound, score!
And that was the new voice of the Rockford IceHogs, Dana Gray, AHL, and that was brought to you by courtesy of AHL TV on flowhockey.com. So you heard there, Colton Doc, familiar name. Kevin Korchinski, another familiar name.
And Samuel Sauvageau.
Samuel Sauvageau.
The only one that doesn't really fit is Kevin Fitzgerald, but the usual culprits that you want to see from this IceHogs team getting on the stat sheet here in the goal department. And then even in the assist department, you had an assist from your goaltender, Drew Comesso. That's always great, as well as him posting a 1-goal backstopped game. Then Louis Crevier had an assist, Gavin Hayes, Frank Nazar, and Landon Slaggert. And you definitely want to see Landon Slaggert, as just yesterday, or was that Thursday? No, it was just yesterday. Landon Slaggert inked a 2-year contract extension with the Chicago Blackhawks for $900,000. So that is huge for this Blackhawks team. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you did see, well, I did see in person Thursday night for the Blackhawks home opener, Pat Maroon go down after taking a puck to the foot after the skate. It took him to the locker room, and then yesterday he used a maintenance day, so he did not practice. Does that mean we will see Landon Slaggert up here in Chicago? Well, I say up here, but geographically it's down here in Chicago, but up here at the NHL level very soon? There were a lot of people predicting that either Slaggert or Nazar was going to start the season in Chicago, maybe in that second-line center role or a winger. I don't know if that's necessarily the case here, but good to have Slaggert locked up and a crucial part of this Rockford Ice Hogs team.
Yeah, and you had mentioned Comesso, Drew Comesso. He stopped 18 of 19. And then Doc, he missed the Gordie Howe hat trick. And when I say he missed the Gordie Howe hat trick, he did receive 5 minutes for fighting in the third period. And, he missed out on the Gordie Howe hat trick because he did not get an assist. If I'm not mistaken, the Rockford Ice Hogs played last night.
They did. I do want to bring up a stat, which I always find is funny, especially when you mention Gordie Howe hat trick. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show. Gordie Howe actually only achieved the Gordie Howe hat trick twice in his career. I mean, he was known for scoring goals and fighting, but having a goal, having an assist, and having a fight all in one game only happened for him twice. In fact, players like Rick Tocchet and Brendan Shanahan had significantly more Gordie Howe hat tricks than Gordie Howe himself, which is so wild. But we're not changing the name. It's Gordie Howe. It's
He was the pioneer of the Gordie Howe hat trick.
Yeah. You did say that the Ice Hogs had a game last night. Unfortunately for them, that was a 6-3 loss to the Milwaukee Admirals. Everybody's losing to this Admirals team. They were a tough team last year. They'll be a tough team again this year. Unfortunately, this came after a 2-0 Ice Hogs lead. So you don't like to see blown leads like that, especially when you're at home in the BMO Center. It was a power play goal from Cole Gutman, and then Austin Strand doubled that lead for Rockford, but then Milwaukee responded 27 seconds after Strand's goal, and then they would have that momentum into the final moments of the period and tie things up. Then they took the lead on an Anthony Angelo goal, and then expand the lead on, traitor, Vinny Hinostroza scoring a goal, former Rockford Ice Hog and Chicago Blackhawk, getting a goal at the 7:43 mark in the second period. And then they would extend the lead again with a goal, making it 5-2. The Ice Hogs would find the score sheet later when Frank Nazar III, he scored a shorthanded breakaway goal to bring the Ice Hogs back within 2 goals. But, of course, the Admirals score one more and take the 6-3 victory on the road. But I will say the funny thing is Frank Nazar scored his first ever NHL goal with the Blackhawks before he scored his first ever AHL goal with the Ice Hogs. So going a little bit backwards there, but of course
weird.
That's just the way things shook out with the fact that he's still not quite an NHL regular mainstay player. He's got to work up to that. And then of course he came from college last year. So he did get a little bit of time with the Blackhawks, and it just so happened he did the Jonathan Toews thing. He scored on his first shot on his first shift for the Blackhawks. So
it's always fun.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for this Ice Hogs team, they will have to face the Milwaukee Admirals again tonight. This one is in Milwaukee at the UW Panther Arena. That is a 6 p.m. start time. And we will get a chance to see if the Ice Hogs can even up this home and away series before they have more games coming up in the future.
Yeah, it's a little weird for the Rockford Ice Hogs and the Chicago Wolves because they did start the season last week. They've only played a couple of games, literally 2 each, I think.
Yeah.
Or the Wolves are going to be playing their second game tonight.
Yes, yeah.
It seems that It's very spread out in the very beginning, yet they're going to be playing a lot of the same familiar teams.
Yeah, I mean, within the AHL, you play within your division quite often because it comes down to that in the playoffs. You got to play your way out, kind of like any sport these days. However, it's a little bit more glorified in the AHL. You also then don't have as wide of travel because if you look at an AHL map right now these days, it's great for the league. There are a lot of teams spread out. And you don't exactly have the travel budget that the NHL does. So it's gonna be a little bit tougher to play teams outside of your division. Plus,
fair enough.
To try to fit in a whole, I forget how many games they played. I don't believe it's a full 82. I have to refresh my knowledge on that. But you're gonna have to, really focus on the teams that matter rather than trying to get a game in against every single team in the league.
Sure.
So,
and like the minor league baseball, there are dozens of different, minor league hockey affiliations.
Right. So, the next game, as I mentioned, is tonight for this Ice Hog squad. However, then they are against a different team next week. They don't have a Friday night game. It's a Saturday and Sunday series. So Derek and I will be back on the mic to bring you that. But it's against the Manitoba Moose in Manitoba. Those are both 2 p.m. starts Saturday and Sunday, October 26th and 27th. So it's a good, decent start for this Ice Hog squad. I would argue it's a better start for the Chicago Blackhawks team.
Yeah, and you were kind of nervous going into the season.
Well, nervous with how the preseason played out.
Sure.
And then nervous at the fact that the Blackhawks started 0-1-1 on the season. Of course, they lost that opening game against the Utah Hockey Club. And then they went on to lose in overtime to the Winnipeg Jets. Although the Jets were a tough team last year, and I expect that to be the case again this year. But then the Blackhawks had a surprising win over the defending conference champion Edmonton Oilers. It was a 5-2 win. We have some audio from that, I believe.
McDavid coming off a 100-assist season, one of only 5 in league history. And we are underway at Rogers Place. Derek Ryan on the doorstep by Mrazek. Here's a tip home right in front, and what a deflection by Kurashev.
In front of that, we just saw Foligno with an attempted redirection, the fake shot here, little pass back, and it's a wrister that goes deflected off. The forward out high going down trying to block it. You're going to see right here, Kurashev is there, Bertuzzi.
Here's Ivan, and McDavid fires the save made by Mrazek. Who's able to hold. That was broken up, and then she broke over the boards was Kulak by Maroon.
Big hit by Patrick Maroon on Brett Kulak, almost puts him right into the Hawks bench.
Shot Skinner, save made. Rebound, score. Great play by Arvidsson, relentless on the back check. Foligno waiting. Teravainen, Jones, Bedard, Jones fires off the post and in.
Seth Jones, and this is a wicked wrister, and it's right on the ice almost. This is just a shot to get it to the net quickly, and you're going to see him use the screen of the forward Henry coming out to try and block this, and he puts it.
The Hawks able to break out. Teravainen crisscrosses with Bedard. Wrist shot, score! Hawks extend to a 3-1 lead.
Once he has that lane, I hear for Arvidsson just can't get this puck back deep, and they're off to the races, and he wants this puck. Nice move to the middle, center drive by Teravainen opens up a little bit of space. And if you give Connor Bedard that much space, this is the wicked wrister that everybody talks about. It's up over top of the glove of Calvin Pickard.
Fans here didn't like it too much, but power play Chicago. Jones fake the blast, threaded in front, deflected home.
Sorry, in the second period, do the same thing. Kind of bounce it off a player. Good fake by Jones, and this one goes off the skate of Darnell Nurse. It was attempted.
Jones, around the world classic, now a one-timer score. And that's the third power play goal of the night for the Chicago Blackhawks. And Teuvo Teravainen puts an exclamation point on his 4-point night, and the Hawks road victory.
That was quite an offensive performance, and I don't remember the last time that I've actually heard the Hawks scoring 3 power play goals in a game.
Was that courtesy of the ESPN broadcast?
No, I'm sorry. That was courtesy of the NHL.com YouTube.
Ah, okay. Because you know why I didn't get to watch the game? Because I don't have Chicago Sports Network. Fix it. Fix it.
Was able to find the highlights somewhere, but, I mean, Teravainen, 2 goals, 2 assists. Bedard, a goal and an assist. Seth Jones, a goal and assist. And Philip Kurashev, a goal, which he scored the first goal of the game. Mrazek was pretty good in this game, stopping 36 of 38 shots, only 2 goals allowed. And really, the first goal came off of a Hawks defenseman, Brody, which was just a awkward goal. The guy was around the left circle, passed the puck to the center of the ice, and just deflected off the D-man and into the back of the net. There was absolutely nothing that Mrazek could do with that one.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and you heard it in the clip. Teuvo Teravainen, a 4-point night, 2 goals and 2 assists. That Bedard goal, the release on that, oh my God, what a snipe. I mean, that was just incredible. He adds 2 assists. He could have had another assist. I believe he had that falling assist that almost looked like the Alex Ovechkin, the way he scored that 1 goal when he was falling and still put the puck in the net. It went backdoor, and just a nice save from Pickard, the goaltender. But what a night for this Blackhawks team. You heard it in the clip. 3 power play goals for the Blackhawks. We're not even, at this point, this was last Saturday, we're not even a week away from when the Blackhawks had so many power play opportunities against the Utah Hockey Club. And even the broadcast, and we talked about it on the show last week, even the broadcast joked, do you decline a penalty because your power play has been that bad? Your power play didn't necessarily give up any shorthanded goals, but gave the momentum to Utah. And then you come out and have 3 power play goals against the defending conference champion Edmonton Oilers. They went to the Stanley Cup last year. Yeah. Now, if you remember Edmonton's season at the start of last year, it was a rocky start for them. I believe they actually had lost almost like 10 games in a row to start the season. And if you're Edmonton and you're fans of Edmonton right now, I don't think you're worried, because you saw, despite the bad start last year, you still went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and you were a goal away, 2 goals away from winning. Now, do you want that to happen again to start your season? It's been a rough start for this Edmonton team and Connor McDavid. No. And especially losing to the Blackhawks in such fashion? Absolutely not. On home ice, too, I might add. But wow, what a game from the Blackhawks. Connor Bedard, you saw his vision in this one. It was another edition of the Connor-verse, Connor McDavid versus Connor Bedard, or some people say Connor Murphy versus Connor Brown.
Yeah, you know how they have the launch angle in baseball? You got the exit velo, the launch angle. I would like to actually know the angle of the stick, or the circumference, or the radius of how Connor Bedard's stick bends when he's doing the wrist shots.
So when he takes a shot, how he has revolutionized the game. I mean, other guys can do this too, Austin Matthews, but they say nobody has quite the release like Connor Bedard. So even though some of these guys have taken these type of shots before, it's Connor Bedard that has almost mastered it and perfected it. It's called a toe drag shot, or a toe drag release. So not only is he just shooting the puck, he's changing the angle of his blade and his stick. He already knows where he's putting the puck. He already knows where he wants to put it. But the goaltender's looking at the stick and looking at the blade and looking at one angle as Connor Bedard pulls it in towards his body to not only get more power, more flex in the stick. That's what you're talking about, is wanting to see the slow-mo of how much that stick bends probably. And then being able to bring that so close into your body that it changes the angle of where you're shooting. And it's just a wicked release. It's unbelievable, and it's so hard to stop, especially when he has the vision that he does. I mean, I saw him at the home opener have a no-look pass across the ice, across the seam, to Teuvo Teravainen, and then Teuvo Teravainen, everybody thought he was going to shoot that puck because they did slide over for it. I mean, it was a beautiful no-look pass that fooled half the defense and partly the goaltender of the San Jose Sharks. But then when they did adjust over to the Teuvo Teravainen side, even he then passed it, or kind of a shot pass to the front for Nick Foligno to redirect. But I mean, we're just seeing the start of what Connor Bedard can be, and it is glorious. Before we even get into that home opener, there was a 3-1 loss to Calgary that the Hawks had. The only real highlight in this game is the monster reverse hit from Connor Murphy. Holy moly. If you're not familiar with what a reverse hit is, it's when you have the puck and some guy steps up to hit you and you still hit him. That was Connor Murphy on, I'm not sure, this is a newer player for the Calgary Flames, Hanzik. But man, if you have a chance, go back and watch this reverse hit. I mean, it's vicious. It's legal, but it's vicious. That's for sure. And that was great. Bedard did get called for a penalty in that one, and he couldn't believe it. I think everybody was confused.
I don't think I have absolutely no idea what the ref was looking at.
Yeah, I still don't know really what he did in that one. But unfortunately, after a great game against the Edmonton Oilers, the Blackhawks fall to the Calgary Flames. However, Calgary's been the best Canadian team so far this year. I don't know if anybody would have predicted that. So. And
Mrazek did stop 24 of 26 shots. Nick Foligno had a goal, his second of the season. And we're going to get into the highlights from the 10-17 game, which was the game that you were at on TV against the Sharks.
The home opener.
And shootout lost points to start their season. Taylor Hall on the attack. Hall scores! First of the season. 699th career point.
And a big one for Taylor Hall.
Into the final minute of play in the opening period. Here's Teravainen to the front of the goal. They score! Beautiful tip in by Bertuzzi.
Right through the guts of the ice on a redirection, and Bertuzzi gets one here his first as a Chicago Blackhawk.
All the way across to Bertuzzi. Now Teravainen. Here's Bedard from the circle. Teravainen in front. They score! Last four-way into the offensive zone with a man advantage, and Hall's pass deflects over to Wennberg. He'll bring it out with a long pass. Look out. Cunnin short-handed. Stopped by Mrazek. Eklund down low in front. And they score!
Just a rare miscue here by the Hawks right there.
Intercepted. Hawks have numbers on the counter. Dickinson up to Hall. Backs in over the blue line. Late in the ship. Not much left in the tank. And he'll just dump the puck in and head off. Played it by the score! Beautiful goal by Dickinson. Tucks it in.
Just on this play. He dumps in, goes for a change, and look at Anderson right on top of it. And he beats Ceci to it. And then the left-handed Dickinson, who's had a couple of chances in this game, but what a pass! And there's the play. Just a jam play as he's skating through the crease.
Tries a shot. Deflected score. Redirected in front.
This one here is quick developing right here. There's the shot. There's the redirection. No chance for Mrazek. It's going obviously wide by 7 yards.
Mrazek looking for his second one of the season. As that goes deep. Another one from a sharp angle stop. Loose puck down low. Hawks able to work it loose. Tip to the blue line and out, and that'll do it. As the Hawks will win their home opener in 24 with an impressive 4-2 victory over the San Jose Sharks.
That was courtesy of ESPN Plus, that audio from the Blackhawks home opener. We're running out of time here, but let me get you a couple of stats leading up to today. Of course, I was there at the game. It was a great time. Got a chance to see friends of mine like John Hansen and Jenna Rose. Got to talk a little bit with Blackhawks insider Charlie Roumeliotis. These are all hints of who we could possibly have here on WRMN very soon. Connor Bedard, though, 5 games played, 7 points. So he is over a point per game player. I predicted him to be such last year. 1 goal and 6 assists. He's a +3 to start the season, so that is great. Hawks get the win at home, and they have a busy week coming up as well. You've got a couple of games for this Hawks team tonight. Let me just double check that. No, sorry. Yes, tonight. Blackhawks and Sabres at home. And then Canucks come to town on Tuesday. Next Friday, it'll be Blackhawks and Predators. All of these games are at home. And then Saturday, we will be back on the air. You are listening to On the Rise on AM 1410 WRMN. For myself, Mike Napolitano, and my co-host, Derek Geyer. We'll catch you in the fantasy football segment.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
A truckload of methamphetamine disguised as a shipment of watermelons was seized at the U.S.-Mexican border crossing into San Diego, U.S. Customs and Border Protection said. Methamphetamine valued at more than $5 million was found August 16th when the cargo aboard a tractor-trailer from Mexico was unloaded for a detailed inspection, the agency said in a statement. Among real watermelons, officers found 1,220 packages wrapped in paper colored to look like watermelon skins. The total weight of the packages amounted to 4,587 pounds or 2,080 kilograms. Wow, there's a lot to unwrap here, besides all the packs of meth. Can you imagine the conversation that went into the scheme-hatching plan for this? What about the conversation someone sparked that finally had them search the truckload of watermelons? There's no way I'm going to believe that the Border Patrol found this truck the first time they tried this tomfoolery. I am praying that there were no forest preserve barbecue functions that are cutting into these magical slices of watermelon. My personal biggest question, why didn't they just hollow out some of the watermelons? I'm Darian Sims, and this is how I see it.
By popular demand, Universal Circus is in Chicago for an extra 2 weeks with a Halloween spooktacular. Scary monsters in the haunted lobby, spine-chilling surprises, and cash prizes for the best-dressed kid. And this weekend is Kids Free Weekend. Buy an adult ticket and get a kid's ticket for free. Make the short trip to Chi-Town for shows until October 27th. Be there if you dare.
Available now on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com is the book called DUI Jury Trial, which is the true story of a truck driver in Illinois who was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol. Not only was he facing a revocation of his driver's license, but also a lifetime disqualification of his commercial driver's license, which would prevent him from ever driving a semi-truck again. This book includes the backstories of the truck driver, the lawyers that defended his case, and the DUI expert witness who analyzed the case and then testified at trial as to the proper protocol procedures of the field sobriety test as well as the breathalyzer tests. This nonfiction novel also includes the actual court transcripts from the jury trial, a courtroom showdown in which the final verdict would determine the fate of the defendant's livelihood. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Microsoft has new computers that put AI first, this special category called Copilot Plus PCs. They have minimum specs plus a chip just for AI. The company unveiling the first Surface devices with the designation, powered by Qualcomm chips, not Intel. One notable AI feature is called Recall. It lets your computer remember everything you do so that you can find files, images, and websites later. More tech news tips on Rich on Tech.
Every Saturday from 1 to 4, right here on WRMN.
Hi, this is Sue with Newman's Corner Pub in Hampshire, Illinois. Are you looking for the perfect hangout spot? Swing by Newman's Corner Pub right at the corner of 72 and State Street in Hampshire. Enjoy fantastic drinks, live music, and a fun crowd that makes every visit special. Test your luck with our hot slots and our Queen of Hearts drawing every Saturday at 3 p.m. Challenge your friends to darts or pool while you're here. Newman's Corner Pub, where every day feels like a weekend. Visit us at Route 72 and State Street in Hampshire. That's Newman's Corner Pub, your new favorite spot.
You're listening to On the Rise with Mike Napolitano and Derek Geyer on 1410 AM WRMN.
And you are tuned in to AM 1410 On the Rise. I'm your host, Derek Geyer, and this is the Fantasy Sports Half Hour with Nick Johnston. How the hell you doing, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, you know, a little tired here and there, but that's just how it is when you're in the industry.
And we are pre-recording on a Thursday once again. How did last Thursday's pick go?
Well, I think we did okay, talking around and just making sure everyone got their starts and sits. My Thursday night football was a little off. DK Metcalf was extremely frustrated frustrating because I think I said 2 touchdowns. Well, he got the target share, just only came down with 3 balls out of 12 targets. So not the best when his counterpart Tyler Lockett got about 20 so points, depending on how you're scoring it. And then I think Kenneth Walker also walked in for a score as well. So tough one there for some people that were looking that way, but all around, I think the previews were okay. And then, it was interesting to see another breakout. At this point, I feel like you and I, either one of us can play running back for the San Francisco 49ers, and we're both going to finish with like 85 yards rushing and a touchdown probably. So anyone can go back there.
You are giving me way too much credit on that one, but I appreciate it.
It's more or less the credit to the offensive line because they are blocking. That blocking scheme, that offense is looking amazing. Again, you can put, I think my grandmother could probably pick up a fourth down conversion if you put it back there.
Well, why don't we get going on this fantasy sports half hour? We've got the Bears and the Cowboys both on bye weeks. From a perspective of both teams, Bears are going into it with a 4-2 record. The Cowboys, holy hell, they're going into it after they got destroyed by Detroit. Sucks.
Yeah.
But also the Cowboys really sucked. I mean, 47-9, Cowboys lose. Holy hell!
On Jerry Jones' birthday too.
Oh wow,
he was in the building. Yeah, on both sides. Let's talk about the Cowboys first. A lot of frustration, it seems like, on all sides of the ball. Can't really figure out what to do. There's a lot of scoring is going on. This defense is almost like the old saloon bar door when they just you can just walk right through. The Lions came in. They're showing. They wanted to show people why the Super Bowl, the NFC might roll through them. And I know this could be a very determined. We'll get to the previews this week, but the Lions and the Vikings, this could determine how the NFC is. Where the road to the NFC to the Super Bowl goes. But that's gonna be a huge one. But yeah, they really showed up and showed out. A lot of big names right there. I mean, even the kicker, like we were talking about earlier, he had 19 points for the Lions. Everyone was scoring. Everything's really looking good. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the day before, David Montgomery gets a nice little extension, and then he's like, okay, cool, I'll score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, 12 carries, 80 yards, 2 TDs. I mean, and Goff went off. I mean, he was 18 for 25, 315 yards, 3 TDs.
That makes John Gruden feel nicey. Honestly, the Lions are looking good. On the other hand, like we mentioned, the Cowboys, it's while CeeDee Lamb had a good game, he was getting a lot of targets, but just not a lot of. It would have been more beneficial in a PPR. Like I said, not a ton of yardage, no score. So he was the only bright spot really there. You're still really you might still keep a couple of these these names. I'm even gonna stick with Rico Dowdle just because running backs are so far and few in between. Mm-hmm. But that would be the only thing if you're holding on to anybody. Dak Prescott, you might have a better option at quarterback if you have something like them, if you're that deep. Yeah. And then for the Bears, really quick, they're also on bye. If you're giving them a almost like a midway
midterm grade.
Yeah, exactly, midterm grade. Perfect, thank you. Caleb, all these names are really maybe besides Rome, I guess maybe he's still a bench spot just because if someone does go down like Keenan Allen. Again, but Caleb, DJ Moore, Rome, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, especially Cole Kmet, and then even the defense. These are all I made a full 180 from week 1 or 2, and I was not determined or undecided still,
little hesitant.
Now you can start some Bears players without a doubt, without any hesitation. Again, it's not just DJ Moore anymore. You can gladly start Cole Kmet. So
yeah, and they actually seem like they have some sort of identity going on right there.
Coming off of a game in London where again, not the greatest opponent of the Jaguars, but they made it known that they're not going to lollygag. They're going to take care of this team that is clearly less superior than they are. So they're going to make mincemeat of them. So it was good to see. Besides Gabe Davis having 2 scores, it was really just garbage time the entire time. So glad to see the Bears just look good and a good time for the bye week. Because, like we mentioned before, they have a tough second half of the schedule. So
yes, they certainly do with that one. But there were 4 trades this week, a couple of trades. I know that there was. So you got
2 big ones, but yes, Cam Akers went to the Vikings
from the Texans.
Yeah, there's another. What was
there? Was defensive end Roy? I can't read my chicken scratch here. Robertson Harris, going from the Jags to the Seahawks.
Okay.
Then you have.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I did.
Then you have the Biggie or I'll start with the smaller of the trades.
Possibly.
So you've got the Amari Cooper from the Browns to the Bills.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the suddenly much healthier Davante Adams going from the Raiders to the Jets.
Those Jets, the people in the trainer's room, they give them an award. They figured it out. It's all miraculously. It's a miracle. Davante Adams healthy when he wasn't in Las Vegas. Maybe it was the desert. Maybe it was like the heat from the desert, and then you get to...
Well, it dries you out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it dries you out, and he's probably not stretching like you have emphasized on previous episodes.
You got to stretch, kid.
You got to, as being pros, you would think that you would actually be able to limber up and do those things that you need to do to be healthy
100%.
And on the field. But what does this do for the Jets? What does this do for Aaron Rodgers? And... I mean, the fantasy stats here.
Yeah, both sides of the ball, honestly. I'll give you a best case scenario and worst case scenario for both of these players. And then, like you mentioned, I'll go ahead and break down if it could be a benefit for any one of these guys that are on the team with them. So for Davante Adams, best case scenario, obviously, is that he returns to his old Aaron Rodgers connection between him and Davante of 2011 that even Aaron Rodgers just mentioned a couple days ago, or just yesterday actually, the gold standard that was the 2011 connection between him and Adams. Best case scenario.
I mean, okay, being a Bears fan, we know this by now. I'm a Bears fan. Green Bay sucks, Detroit sucks, Minnesota sucks. Okay, get that out of the way. But wasn't there turmoil and everything between Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers?
I don't recall it being between those two. It was more or less.
It was more the
McCarthy
ownership. Okay. Allegedly. I got to toss that.
I think it's even for Rodgers. I think he's put it out there before that he wasn't a fan of what was going on because the idea he's coming off of an MVP and then they still want to draft his replacement, which
understandable.
It's looking okay right now. Yeah. Jordan Love's doing just fine. He's balling out. But ultimately, I think it was just the idea that he's like, I'm not a fan of being replaced, being just the filler QB. So I think that was more the turmoil. Him and I don't recall it. Him and Davante never went sour. I mean, I'm sure to some extent, when you get frustrated during games, and
maybe I'm just connections. Maybe I'm just hopeful with it and reading into it a little bit. A little out of town Green Bay stupid.
But that could be the worst case scenario here. Is that old friends coming together and you had some time in between, and now you're like, oh, this connection isn't connecting as what we thought it was going to be. Maybe, God forbid, one of these two, an older quarterback, you might see the fact that you're like, oh yeah, man, okay, he is.
Davante Adams loses a step. Aaron doesn't have his fastball.
And that's kind of the case right now, where you're like, okay, is an older Davante Adams going to come in and fix a 2-4 led Jets team by a 40-year-old one-legged quarterback? Is that everyone's going to just immediately switch it back to? And then again, that could be the worst case scenario.
And there was that play at the end of the game where Rodgers heaved up the interception, where his wide receiver slipped and fell because he was trying to come back to the ball.
Yeah,
and then Rodgers goes ahead and buries him. The next day, or in the press conference afterwards,
wrong route. That's what he said.
Yeah, I'm calling shiatsu I'm calling bull shiatsu on that one.
Close one. Yeah. That's a close one. And exactly that for the man that we're talking about in Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it could be a huge benefit for him just in the pass game because they've been passing a ton. While their run game has looked better, they might still be down and still be. They've had 3 games now where basically essentially coming down to the final drive and they just can't get it done. Cannot get it done. Sure. So whether it's just the red zone connection that's not there, or you talked about Davante missing a step, it could be Aaron just losing a step and just being behind.
Yeah.
That could be the case. All these guys really seem to benefit. That might just be the optimist in me on this case. But again, Breece, I think the run game can open up with a veteran presence in Davante Adams, where you still might have to double team him. You still might have to double team him if he's as dominant as he still wants to be.
Sure.
And then that could still open it up for Garrett Wilson, while some might say, gone are the days probably of the 23 targets that he just saw 2 games ago. But in this target share, like I mentioned, if Aaron Rodgers is going to be passing a ton still, if he gets 10 plus targets, that's still going to be enough for Garrett Wilson to ball out, get a score, be in the slot as he was just so dominant before a couple seasons ago. And as Jeff Urban, I think this was the best description of maybe any player I've heard of so far in at least a while. He described him as moves like an and one basketball player. Remember those and one mixtapes? And they're just I mean, these guys move like they have they're made out of Laffy Taffy.
Gumby.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a great compliment, and it's legit. He can move like that. So the only maybe the person I see that doesn't benefit is Alan Lazard. I don't think he's going to be the leading receiver on this team for very much longer, or like individually in games anymore. I think those targets might be going Devontae's way. So it'll be a slowly but surely thing. It'll be a mixture of Devontae's health and just getting acclimated back into a new system in the Jets. But it'll be almost like a glove possibly with Aaron Rodgers being back there. So it'll be very interesting. And I'm glad you said this was the top trade, because I think this other trade might be the sneaky one and might be even more beneficial for the team and the entire division.
Considering the fact that Josh Allen, of the Bills, is his wide receiver gets traded or signs somewhere in the offseason.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs. I think.
Okay, well, we'll just say
Stephon Diggs to the Texans.
Right. So Diggs goes bye-bye. And Allen is basically playing out of his mind because he's trying to stay alive. He's trying to get the ball to whoever he can get open. Now, all of a sudden, they've got Amari Cooper coming in from the Browns.
Yeah. I think it's a huge benefit for the offense. I was listening to Sean McDermott. He's kind of downplaying it. He's downplaying it, I think, just to not to get other teams like all acclimated. He's going to use Amari Cooper. He's going to use Amari Cooper a ton.
How can he not?
Exactly. And again, the best case scenario is, Amari Cooper becomes the number one target. He already is a dude. And like I said, some people are very much overlooking this trade. A lot of people in this building that we're currently recording in at IMS. Thank you, IMS, for the recording studio today. They were kind of downplaying it, like, not wash, but they're just like, it's not a needle mover. He can be a guy still. He's definitely a threat. He just hasn't been exposed because he's had Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball these past 2 seasons. And even before that.
Let's be honest, he's a freaking dumpster fire, Deshaun Watson.
Yes. There's no fixing that. I'm not quite sure.
Other than being a piece of shiatsu with his off the field stuff, I feel perfectly fine saying that, actually.
Yeah, no.
And then, on field, which is why he got the boatload of money and everything and the guaranteed 300 whatever million.
Yeah, my only sidebar on that is for sure, it's just like if the Browns, you were paying him whether he's playing or not, you might as well bench him and have Jameis Winston start and stop lying to yourself and saying, Deshaun Watson gives us the best chance to win. Clearly not.
No.
Because right now it's being predicted that you will be the number 1 overall pick in this draft.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Nick Chubb's like, I'll come back this week. Sure. You're coming back to exactly like you said, a dumpster fire. It's going to be a dumpster fire. It's going to be a tough look. Back to the Bills.
Okay.
Back to Amari Cooper. And on the bright side of things, because best case scenario, like I said, he becomes a dog. He becomes a number 1, maybe a top 15, top 10 in fantasy, just overall in wide receivers. Worst case scenario is that he just becomes a guy, and where he will have, he'll have big games, but, will it be him? Will it be Khalil Shakir? Will it be Dalton Schultz? Or, will it be Dalton Kincaid? Will it be, I'm blanking on the other tight end right quick, Dawson Knox? But that's right now where the Bills' offense is, where it's everybody eats type deal. Everyone eats. So I don't. But that's the thing. Amari Cooper is far too talented for that to become a thing. At least in my mind.
Okay.
So while the everyone eats mentality is there, Amari Cooper can shine, be the brightest star there, and give some nice insight to a guy like Keon Coleman, young rookie, who hasn't, he's had some touches, he's had some nice moments so far, but hasn't skyrocketed just yet. But again, rookie year. But overall, that could be the thing where Josh Allen, shout out to Josh Allen, hasn't thrown an interception yet. And I'm knocking on wood just for the sake of it, because he's probably going to end up throwing one today. So, exactly. So Josh Allen benefits.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah, a couple others can possibly not, but this is going to be a huge one for Amari Cooper, and it possibly could be a bigger trade than the Devontae Adams thing. But we'll see.
Okay. So we've got a couple teams coming off the bye. We've got the Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Vikings all coming off a Week 6 bye. out of those teams, out of the well-rested, well, we'll just assume that they are well-rested.
Yeah.
Anyone jump the needle, spike the needle?
Well, this is a huge one for the Chiefs coming off of their bye. They're playing the 49ers, who, you can't really make heads or tails of either one of these teams. The Chiefs probably should have lost at least one of their games, I'm sure, but they just know how to win. This is going to be a great game for fantasy reasons. You're playing at all these guys, even though these are tough defenses. Yeah. You just have to. You got to watch out for Jordan Mason throughout the week still. I think he's coming in questionable, but most likely going to get going. But again, any one of these running backs is good to go for the 49ers.
Is Kelsey back?
Yeah, he's fine.
He's back. He's doing good. I mean, he's now all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, back in the sense of
like his getting back into his old form.
I think so. I think he's finally they've awakened the demon, or to some extent.
Okay.
And he's going to have to get going because we just saw a couple of wide receivers getting moved, and the Chiefs are just sleeping. They haven't picked up the phone just yet. I'm sure behind the scenes somebody might have, but
so he's feeling a little swift.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly that. He can get going. This is gonna be a very exciting game. But yeah, that's gonna be an exciting one for sure. At the 12 o'clock slate, I know we got a couple. We want to get through these these games a little bit quickly. Lions and Vikings again to determine basically the division as of right now.
Yeah.
Possibly for the Vikings to get their first loss. I personally believe that they are overachieving. But that's just me. I've gotten some flack from that. Sam Darnold's been doing good, not great. So again, give him his flowers, but he's not lighting up the world. Maybe like a couple other quarterbacks, like maybe Justin. It could be a thing like Justin Fields is lighting it up, but not good enough to start again.
Right.
That's again.
Well, he was
crazy.
never really named the starter.
Yeah,
and Wilson was hurt and coming off of a thing.
Again, these two games that we just mentioned, the Lions, the Vikings, and then the Chiefs and the 49ers, no brainers. You're starting basically everyone in that game that is healthy, obviously.
Sure.
The tough one, check and see if you have anyone going. Maybe make sure you're doing it the night before on Saturday, because no one should be getting up early for this London game. Patriots, Jaguars, both teams are 1-5. If you have anybody on the Patriots besides maybe Ramondre Stevenson, I'm sorry. That's very unfortunate. And then on the Jag side of things, again, just make sure Evan Ingram is not questionable. Make sure he's actually playing so you can go back to bed and then just not watch this game.
So the Jaguars are the new Carolina Panthers?
It is looking that way. It is definitely looking that way. And it's going to be tough. Again, they might even, the Panthers might even be doing better. Oh, no, they're not in the same division. That's my bad. Either when it's too many cats.
NFC, AFC.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, it's just
the Jags and Panthers.
Yeah, too many cats.
Yeah, exactly.
Bouncing around. You got a couple other interesting matchups for sure. And like we mentioned, both these guys that have been traded for, sounds like they're going to be playing between Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams. I just saw a quick update on Malik Neighbors of the Giants. Let me quickly make sure if he's going or not. And then another update as well. Cardinals rookie, per Adam Schefter, Cardinals rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. remains in concussion protocol and is limited participant in today's practice.
That's rough.
Still in concussion protocol this late in the week. It's most likely he's not going to be going. So look for other Cardinals receivers for that. And then let me see really quick from Ian Rappaport. The Giants Malik Neighbors was evaluated from an independent neurological consultant, and has been cleared from concussion protocol. So that's very good news for any Malik Neighbors fantasy managers. If he's good to go, you're playing him. He's going to get all the targets and all the passes. That's your guy right there.
I'm kind of curious. Is there a revenge game this weekend? Revenge game being a certain running back in Philly going back to the Giants.
That is a huge one, and I'm glad you pointed that out because I completely overlooked that one. I'm sure he had that one circled on his calendar. If you're playing against Saquon Barkley this week, I'm sorry, he's probably going to put up 200 plus yards and 3 scores.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I know that there are revenge games, but that is like holy.
The way the Eagles are kind of looking like, and they might be
Saquon Barkley's coming to town. Hide your women and children.
Make sure everyone is locked in the bomb shelter. This is going to be a huge one. He will get rained down from booze undeservingly. He's put that franchise on his back. I know it's a tough exit, but any Giants fan with a brain cell is going to stand up and clap when that man gets back in that building. So that's just me. Again, it's a tough luck when we're Chicagoans and we got the Bears over here, but it's a different breed out there for actually both those fan franchises.
And really all they need to do is take a look at that off-season Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
because man, that was a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we got a couple of games that we haven't touched upon, but not the greatest week. I just want to quickly get to maybe some of their big matchups and then probably just call it a day. Texans and Packers. Again, just a 5-1 Texans, 4-2 Packers. Again, if you're looking at the AFC, this is one of those teams and the Texans that will most likely be contending, and it has a chance to get this to maybe just not sneak their way, but they can make a legit run for that Super Bowl in Houston. But on the other hand, they're going to Lambeau, always a tough place to play.
And it looks like Jordan Love is actually rounding back into last year's form.
Jordan Love is already back into certain form. And it was brought up to me that I'm going to have to double check when it starts, but Toyotathon and Jordan Love doing well positively correlate together. So when Toyotathon was going on last year, they went 6-2, and he threw about a ton of touchdowns.
Pretty good.
He did very well
pretty good
during Toyotathon, so I can only hope that it somehow switches up. Maybe Nissan does some other deal and CJ Stroud goes crazy, but it is what it is.
The battle of the car brands.
And that's not trying to plug anybody, but that's just like I'm saying. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just hop on the internet, and I'm sure you'll find it. This is gonna be. I would hope again. There's a lot of scoring here. A couple wide receivers are a little banged up on the Packers side of things between Wicks and even Jaden Reed.
Okay.
And out of nowhere, just Romeo Doubs just doesn't want to play anymore for the Packers. So I'm not quite sure what that's been all about. He was the most unhappy person while scoring 2 touchdowns last week. I've never seen that before in my life. He did like if you play Madden, he did like the generic like celebrations, like all his teammates are jumping in on him, but he just like, thanks man, he doesn't even do a Lambeau leap. He just hands the ball to the ref and calls it a day both times. So that's a tough one.
And then what's the other big game that you got?
You get a doubleheader on Monday night. Not talking Chargers Cardinals. Get out of here. I'm talking Ravens and Buccaneers. Another 4-2 teams going at it. Again, I feel like the Ravens might be the most red hot team right now. 4 straight wins, coming off some pretty solid opponents, and Lamar Jackson might be playing his best ball right now. So it's worth getting a lot of names in there. Derrick Henry scores every time he puts on a Ravens uniform. So
he's definitely been a force this year.
Yes, 100%,
without question.
A guy like myself who overlooked it for the idea, like he might get sniped in the red zone. No, he's getting everything, and he's looking fantastic. So Derrick Henry is obviously in your lineups, and so is the backfield. On the other hand, for the Buccaneers, looking a little weird now that Sean Tucker out of nowhere is like, hey, I'm a guy and I want to run for 130 plus yards and get a score. It's always so weird. So Bucky Irving, Rashard White, Sean Tucker, it's a 3-headed monster according to Todd Bowles right now. So we'll see how that goes, but it's gonna be here or there. But of course, Mike Evans, Godwin, and maybe even Baker in your lineup this week. So that's gonna be solid to wrap up your night on a Monday afternoon. Yeah.
All right, appreciate your time as always, Nick.
Thank you.
That was your fantasy correspondent and half hour with Nick Johnston. I am your host, Derek Geyer, and for my co-host, Mike Napolitano, thank you for listening to On the Rise with AM 1410 WRMN. Up next, the truth about Chicago sports with Marcus Mack. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone.